Good morning, good morning. I think we've gone live. It's telling me live, but I can see something going around and round. Yeah? So you can make me bigger now, Dave.
I'll make you bigger. Morning, people.
There we are.
Live.
Now I can see myself on screen, which is brilliant.
Yeah, I think you're live.
Somebody will tell me in a minute if I'm not.
Yeah, live. You've got two people.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's going up. There you go.
Lovely.
Morning, people. Right, I shall leave.
I've shut the door so that there's no noise or anything.
Well, I'll try not to make them.
No. Lovely. Thank you, darling.
Have fun. Enjoy cooking, people.
Hope you've all had a good week and you enjoyed what you cooked last week. We're going to have some fun next week because it's Valentine's Day and also it's going to be Pancake Day. So we're going to have a bit of fun next week. Just going to make sure that I've got everything ready. Just make sure I took the top off the barbecue sauce. That'll help, won't it? Get that ready. Right, how many have we got on there? Blimey, that's gone up quick. That's really good. So we've got 21 on at the moment. So good morning, everybody. Here we are again, Saturday morning. So today it's cowboy hot pot and flapjacks. I made some last night to make sure that everything was going to work. So the first thing we've got to do is clean down to make sure that our work surface is clean and ready to go. So I'm just going to give mine a spray over. That's lovely. And our next trick is to wash our hands to make sure that what we are handling is hygienic. I've always got a big bowl of hot soapy water in the sink so that at all times I can go and wash my hands, which is lovely. So we're going to start off today by doing the flapjacks because they're going to take a very short time to make and cook, but they're going to take a long time to cool. So I don't want anybody to be rushing. So you won't mostly be able to have your flapjacks for a couple of hours because they do need to cool and set. So we're clean and we're clear to go. So we're going to start off with the flapjacks. So you need to measure yourself out 125 grams of margarine, which I've done. And also I'm going to keep disappearing from your screen. So I've put my 125 grams of margarine in here. And once you've got that in, we're going to add the 125 grams of light brown sugar. Now, I've got light brown sugar at the moment, which is lucky. Last night at home I didn't, so I used ordinary caster sugar. No different. Maybe the only thing is that the flapjacks are a little bit lighter than they would normally be. But they still taste the same. It's not a problem. So if you haven't got the light brown sugar, you can use caster, or I suspect you can mostly use granulated as well. So hopefully you've got those two in the pot. And now we're going to have the fun bit, because you need 2 to 3 spoonfuls of golden syrup. Now golden syrup is really icky sticky. So be careful what you're doing. You don't want to be getting too sticky or too quick. Oh. Now I'm going to use my special wood spoon that Owen Harris came down and gave me yesterday. So thank you, Owen. I know you're on this morning. So it's best really when you're cooking to use a wood spoon because it doesn't hold the heat. But if you haven't got one, just be careful what you're doing. Now, you need to have a responsible adult with you at all times when you're doing this because this is going to get extremely hot. And at no point do you stick your finger in this mixture when it's getting hot because this will be hotter than normal. So you're going to take the skin off your fingers, and that's not going to be very clever. So we don't want that to happen. So we've got in our pan now the margarine, the sugar, and the golden syrup. Move that out of the way. Now you need to put this on a ring, and you need to melt the butter and keep stirring until everything looks like a sludge. That doesn't sound very nice, but that's really what it does look like. So you need to go to your stove, put it on the heat, and keep stirring until all the butter and everything is melted and it becomes a thick sludge. So if you want to go and do that, I'm going to do it on mine as well, but I'm going to be over your picture, unfortunately. I'm going to go and put it on mine in a minute. So I've partly done mine so that the butter is melted. So I shouldn't be too long getting this done. But you do need to make sure that it's completely melted and nice and thick. So as we're melting the sugar in the margarine or the butter, whichever you're using, you need to make sure that it's all blended in. So the sugar will start to go in with the butter, and it tastes like butterscotch. It's really nice. But remember, do not put your hands near that pan. So you should have an adult with you doing that, keeping an eye on you at the moment. It won't take too long to dissolve. That's looking pretty good to me. Yours is going to take a little bit longer because I'd already melted my butter. Wow. Yeah, that's looking good to me. So mine is now melted. I'm going to try and show you what it's going to look like on the camera. Just going to get... So I don't know if I can tip it up. So there you are. Look, it's just like a brown fluid. I'll just slosh it around a little bit. It's very hard to tip it up. I'm going to have everywhere. But it's just like a brown fluid. There's no yellow in it. All the margarine is gone. And the sugar is dissolved. And the syrup is blended in. Let's have a look. Just going to check the messages to make sure that I haven't missed anything. Ian's in. Nicola's in with Jack and Brad. Lisa Kelly, good morning, my darling. Lexi Lee, we can see you. Brilliant. And Helen got Evie on the go. I know there's lots of you today. I can see 26 people on live today, so that's good. So we've melted everything. Hopefully you are at that point. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our porridge oats. So we're going to be putting in 250 grams of porridge oats. So you want to weigh those out. Here we are. And when everything is liquid, you pour those in. And you need to give it a real good stir until all the dry porridge oats are covered in what looks like a toffee mixture. So you need to, it's starting to get thick and you need to give it a good stir. Fabulous. So some of you have got chocolate chips and you've got some marshmallows, you've got glassy cherries, all sorts of different things that you can put in. What I'm doing is I'm getting you to make the mixture first, and we're going to do the prep for anything else that's going in while this is cooling a little bit. Because if you put chocolate chips in this too quick, they're going to melt and make a mess. So mine is now completely covered in the sauce. Just put that one to one side a minute. I'm going to cut up some cherries to put in there. Some glassy cherries. I know you've all got glassy cherries. Put some of those in there. So you can cut them into fours. And I think maybe sort of like 12 cherries are enough, because if you cut them into 4, that's lots and lots of pieces. But they're really tasty in a flapjack. But the great thing about flapjacks is you can put in what you like. So whatever you like. So if you like nuts, like peanuts, and chocolate and cherries, and I'm going to be putting in raisins in mine today. So whatever you like, this is the chance to put it in. So the flapjacks that I made last night were gluten-free oats. So they were for somebody that I've made, because else we're going to have a lot of flapjacks at home. And David will be size of a house if I let him eat more. So I made the gluten-free ones. So don't forget, you know, if there's anybody that you would like to make something for, you can buy gluten-free oats in the supermarkets. Now, normally if I was using these cherries for anything else, I would have put them in hot water to take the stickiness off them. But considering everything in that pan is sticky, it seems no point in actually doing that. So I'm wondering what you lot are putting in your flapjacks today. So I put loads of cherries in mine because we like the cherries. Okay, so they're in. I can move that, and I need to wash my hands because I'm sticky now. Lovely. So give them a good stir. Every time you put something in, give them a good stir. You see it's cooling down now because it's starting to get harder to stir. So whatever you're going to put in there, I'm going to put in now my raisins. It's good to have some fruit in there. These are really sweet, these, so you won't want to eat a lot of them at one go. Now everything's going to melt in a minute anyway, because you're going to be putting it in the oven. But now's the time, if you're going to put in any marshmallows or chocolate pieces, now's the time to put it in. If you've got somebody there to help you, you're going to need to make sure that your tin is lined with greaseproof paper, because this is really sticky, and once it starts to cook, it gets really, really sticky. So I've got my my tin, and I've got my greaseproof paper in there ready. I'm going to put in some marshmallows, but not all of them, because we're going to be using them again next week. And I've got some milk chocolate chips, and I'm just going to put a handful in there, she says. I should have made a hole in the bag, it would help. Yeah, that's about it. You don't really need any more than a handful. So you've maybe got half a packet left, because we've got something exciting to do with those next week. So I'm going to stir all this in. The next thing I'm going to do is put it in my pan. So if you've got anybody to help you, you need to get everything in whatever you're going to be cooking it in. Wow. Very gooey. Now you might have put more treacle in than me, because on the recipe it did say that if you like them gooey, put in more treacle. And once they're cooked, you can half dip them in chocolate if you fancy, if you really want to push the boat out. Right, so everything's in the tin, and now you need to flatten it. You need to spread it right into the corners to make sure that it completely fills the tin that you're using. And depending on what size tin you're using, because not everybody's got the right size, it'll depend how thick your flapjacks are going to be. And it sticks to the back of the spoon because it's really sticky, but it's going to be lovely. It's going to be lovely when they're finished. I don't know many people that don't like a good flapjack. So keep spreading it so that you try and get it into all the corners and you get it as level and flat as you can. When it starts to melt, when it goes in the oven, it'll spread a little bit, but where it is where it will mostly stay most of it. Oh, that looks fabulous. Looking forward to them later. Right, you should very well have got all that into the corners now. So it's going to look a bit like this, depending on what you put in there, of course. So you can see my cherries and my marshmallows and my raisins and all. Now that goes into a hot oven. It needs to go into a hot oven. So hopefully your oven is on. If it's not, you need to turn it on to 200 centigrade or 100 fan or gas 6. Leave it to ting and to make sure it's at the right temperature, and put it in to cook. Now this is going to take, it says on the recipe 15 minutes, but I tried it last night and I think it's more 30. It depends really whether you want them really sort of like gooey or whether you want them nice and soft. So if you want them nice and soft, then maybe 15 to 20 minutes is enough. If you want them a little bit more so that you can cut them easier, it's more like 30 minutes. But just keep checking that you're not burning the top of them. So cook it in the middle of the oven. So they're going to go into your oven, hopefully. I'm just going to clear down, and we're going to start doing the Cowboy Hot Pot. Okay, so we need to make sure that we wipe down again now. We're making something else. Give it a wipe down so it's nice and clean, and the hands a wash. And if you're lucky, you've got somebody there that's going to help you to wash the saucepans and things that we've used. Now, Cowboy Hot Pot came about after us doing a barbecue. Because invariably, when you cook at barbecue, you cook too many burgers and too many sausages. And usually they're in the dog. So I froze a load, and we took them out and we made what we call now Cowboy Hot Pot. So hopefully you cooked your burgers and your sausages last night or this morning, so they're ready to go. So it's So I'm going to have my board. I know that a lot of you mostly won't have a board, so you just need to make sure that you're wiping down regularly. Okay. So we're going to cut the sausages and the burgers up into like little squares and circles, really. So there's my burger. I'm just going to cut it so that they're about centimetre wide cuts, and then we're going to turn it and cut it the other way, so you're making little cubes. We're having a bit of a maths lesson this morning as well. So we should have more or less centimetre cubes going on here. So if I show you, there you go, there's a little cube of beef burger there. You need to carry on cutting them all up. I'm going to do a sausage next. And cut the sausage in rings, but not too big. So there's the thickness. So cut up all your sausages and your burgers. So while we're busy doing that, I've changed the menu for next week for the desserts, because on the Sunday it's Valentine's Day and on the Tuesday it's Pancake Day. So I will be putting up some different recipes, and there'll be recipe cards for you to have at the end of this. Not today, but at the end of the course. So we'll be making shortbread hearts next week, and cherry shortbread. And we're also going to be making pancakes. So you've got your Nutella, your chocolate spread, and you've got lemon, that you can do the lemon and the sugar pancakes. But you need to think what you want to put on your pancakes next week. So we're going to have a go at tossing a pancake, and hopefully you're going to be a professional by the Tuesday. So whoever you've got cooking with you, you'll be able to cook them a pancake. And they're easy to make, and I often say, every year when we have pancakes, I don't know why we don't have pancakes more often, because we all enjoy them, but it just seems that Shrove Tuesday is the day you have pancakes. It's time for using up all your store cupboard stuff. Right, so I'm going to carry on cutting up the burgers and sausages. You need a pan to put them in. So I've got a nice big pan. Now you're not going to cook this. This is all going to go into a dish. But you need a bowl or a pan so that you can give it a good stir with the beans. So I'm going to put them in there out the way. Keep cutting up. This is one of Dave's favourites. He loves Cowboy Hot Pot. You can also cut up and put an onion in there as well. Usually good to cook the onion before you put it in there, sweat it off a little bit so it's a bit softer. But I'm not going to put onion in this one because somebody that we're sharing this with today doesn't like onion. But you can also put bacon. Sometimes if I look in my fridge and see that I've got all sorts of things in there, I'll make sure that it all goes into the hot pot, because it's a good hearty warm meal. Some of you might rather have the hot pot without the potatoes and the cheese on the top. It's entirely up to you. Just going to do another. So if you're cooking for a whole family, you're going to do mostly all your sausages and your burgers. Or if you're cooking just for maybe the two of you, you might want to keep back a couple of sausages for a snack. One more, and that will be enough. Mind your fingers, everybody. I don't want anybody cutting their fingers, thank you. I don't know tears today. Okay, so that's all the burgers on sausages I'm going to put in there. So I'll put those in there. Rare snack later. Okay, washing hands again because I've got meat all over my hands. Let's have a look just to check messages. Morning from Owen. Millie's melting away. That's lovely. So I've got my sausages and my burgers, and they're all chopped up in there, all into little squares. Now we need 2 tins of baked beans. Hopefully you all like baked beans. Oh, I love baked beans. They're good for you. So they go into the pot. Right. Have a spoon. Give them a good stir in a minute. So both tins of beans in the pot. So next week is tuna and sweet corn pasta bake. So we have plenty of tuna and sweet corn here. So if anybody needs to come down and pick up some tuna and sweet corn, then message me. We are here on a Monday and a Friday between 10 and 1. You can come down and pick it up. Okay, so I'll give it a good stir. Look at that. Now we're going to have a splodge or a dollop of barbecue sauce. So I'm going to give it a big dollop. Need to give it a good stir in. So this is a staple. So it's called cowboy hot pot because in America the cowboys live on beans, but their beans are dried and they take them out because they are out with their animals out on the plains for sometimes weeks. So they have the beans that are dry and they add water to them and they make them soft and boil them up, and they have all sorts of things with them. So it's an American dish, really, the cowboys. Now, where's my pan? Here. So anybody that's got an onion fried, they want to put that in there now. Give it a good stir. And then you need to tip it in to your dish. It's a bit like doing the flapjacks, really. You're back to flattening everything out in a minute so that it's fitting all the corners of your bowl, your dish. So this will be my tea tonight. Looking forward to this. Right, everything in, and then push it in so that it's nice and flat. Some of you are thinking, right, that's me done. In which case, if you're not going to put the potatoes and that on the top, you could possibly have left it in the saucepan and got it hot whenever you wanted to. There we are, so I'll flatten that out. Right, so I did say to boil some potatoes. And what you do is you cut them into the circles. So I'm going to cut some of the potatoes. I'll show you in a minute if I cut some. Slice. So I'm just cutting them nice and thin, and you place them on the top of your cowboy hot pot, but you make sure that you overlap them. So I'm just going to put a couple of 3 on and show you what I'm talking about. So it looks a bit like fish scales. There you are. You can see that they're one on top of the other, and you do them so you cover all the beans, or as many potatoes that you've got that you can cover the beans with. Or people put mashed potato on top of it, or you can do cheesy mash. Lots of different things, but it's an easy and practical little meal for everybody that most people really like. I know that when my children come to stay, they always want me to make cowboy hot pot. I'm going around in a square, and then I'm going to go into a smaller smaller square inside, but you might have a round dish, in which case you're going to be going round in a circle. Gosh, all this mathematics and what have you today. Wow. So I've done my first square, overlapping. Don't worry if you haven't got enough potato, it's not a problem. I think I might just have enough. How you doing out there? Everybody keeping up? You have to shout at me if I go too fast. So some of you made bread this week, I see, for a school project, which is brilliant. So you already knew how to use yeast. So you were a bit ahead of the game, really, so that's great. Right, I'm going to clear away the mess. Wash my hands, because I've got potato all over them. Check the messages to make sure that everybody is keeping up. Fabulous. And next we add the cheese. Cheese can be grated, or you could cut it in thin slices if you wanted to put along the top. Let me just try and get that into. There we go. So I'm going to just sprinkle the cheese over the top. We like the cheese. So put on as much or as little of cheese as you like. Good source of protein. There's lots of fibre in baked beans as well, so it's all good for your diet. I'm not going to cover all the potato, that's plenty. You can see I put the cheese on the top. Now that one is going to bake for, she says, on 180 degrees, gas mortar 6, which is the same as your flapjack. So you can put that one in as well now. And I tend to leave this one in until it starts to go brown on the top. So you make sure that everything is cooked underneath. Potatoes obviously are cooked anyway, so it's just browning off the cheese. So that's it really. So I'm going to show you, I made a small one last night in a casserole dish, and he's ready to go. He's ready to warm up. You can see the beans and the sausages and everything underneath. So that one's ready to go. And the exciting bit, the flapjacks. The flapjacks. Look at those. Fabulous. Now, the flapjacks are going to be really, really hot when they come out of the oven. You're going to have to be very patient. You're going to have to leave them for maybe half an hour to 3/4 of an hour before you actually touch them. Don't try and pull them out of the tin before that, because they're going to be really soft and they're going to be quite hot. But once you manage to get them out the tin by using your greaseproof paper, when you lift it, you cut them into the squares. Look at that. Lovely little squares of deliciousness. On the back you can see the cherries and the raisins and all in there. And in those are some white chocolate. So hopefully they're all going to come out really well. And I know this was like a bit of a whistle stop today, but a lot of it was prep first. So using things that you already had. Flapjacks are an easy thing to do. So hopefully I'm going to see some fabulous pictures later. So going back to what we're doing next week, we're going to be making heart-shaped cookies. We're going to make heart-shaped cookies, and hopefully for Valentine's Day you might want to give some to a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or your mum and dad, or your neighbour, a lovely neighbour. I gave everybody some gift baggy sort of bags, so you can put some in and you can drop them on their door and knock on the door and run away so they don't know who've given them. Now, a lot of you won't have one of these cutters. So what I've been doing at home is practicing with making one. So this one I made out of one of those plastic milk bottles. So I cut a piece of the plastic right around, about an inch thick. At the moment I've not stuck it down, so I've bent it in half to make the heart shape, and then I put that in there. What I would do now is put some sellotape on there, so next week you'll be able to use that as a cutter. So that's one way I did it. And the other way was, we had an empty, this is a water bottle, but like a Coke bottle, and I cut an inch top off that, and this one is already sellotaped, I think. No, actually it's not. This was the whole round. So I cut it out and I bent it to make the heart shape. Now that was really easy, and a lot of people have these bottles. So cut the top off where that you pour, and then make sure you cut a nice piece. I would think mostly a responsible adult should be doing that for you. But once they've cut it out and you've got your ring, you can bend it to the heart shape that you want for next week. So we all will have a heart shape cookie cutter for next week. So hopefully that's my top tip for the week. So your flapjack should be in the oven. Your cowboy hot pot is either in or going in very shortly. I'm looking forward to seeing some fabulous pictures later, and I don't think there's anything else I need to tell you apart from the recipes for the shortbread will be going up on the page maybe today or possibly tomorrow, depending on how much I've got to do. And we're going to be making the tuna and the pasta bake and sweet corn. So if anybody needs any of that, then please message me and I'll make sure that you've got it for next week. So without further ado, have a lovely week, have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you again. Bye now.